The grand ballroom aboard the conquered flagship Seraphim gleamed with lights reflecting off crystal walls, a shimmering galaxy encapsulated in artificial beauty. Representatives from dozens of star systems swirled about in flowing robes and intricate armor, mingling under the banner of fragile unity. The galactic elite had gathered to celebrate humanity's official induction into the Galactic Concord, a coalition of civilizations that ruled a quarter of the known galaxy. Ambassador Talia Voss stood at the center of the hall, her silver-blue gown a stark contrast to the alien hues around her. Her voice rang clear as she addressed the assembly from a raised dais. "We have traveled light years from our home to join this great alliance, not as conquerors but as partners. Humanity brings with it innovation, resilience, and a will to thrive alongside you all. Together we shall chart a course toward a brighter future." Applause rippled through the crowd, though not all clapped with warmth. Among the audience, a handful of figures exchanged wary glances. Varn Dominion delegates with their angular faces, and the slithering Zilari envoys with their many eyes glinting coldly. Beneath the gala's surface, an uneasy tension simmered as the celebration crescendoed. Talia slipped away from the crowd to the dimly lit corridors, her sharp eyes scanning the holographic communication pad strapped to her wrist. A coded message blinked urgent red. Orison Vale operation compromised, standby for recall. Her heart sank. The Orison Vale was humanity's newest frontier, a nebulous sector ripe for exploration and potential colonization. The joint survey, fleet with crews from multiple conquered species, was humanity's chance to prove itself indispensable. But someone wanted that mission to fail. Deep within the Seraphim's shadows, a secret council convened, around a holographic table flickering with star maps. Varn High Commander Sail Karath leaned forward, fingers tapping on the glowing surface. "The humans grow too fast," Sail hissed. "Their fleets multiply. Their technology surpasses ours. Every year. If we allow this alliance to continue, soon we will be irrelevant." Beside him, Zilari Grand Strategist Q-Thil unfurled tendrils. "Their reckless expansion threatens our borders and disrupts centuries-old trade. The Galactic Concord must act. The Orison Vale ambush will be the spark." Sael nodded grimly. "Our fleets wait on the edge. We strike under the guise of cooperation. Their downfall will be our rise." Back in the ballroom, Talia's comm device buzzed again. "Ambassador, urgent. The Orison Vale fleet reports incoming hostiles. It's a trap." Her mind raced. She had trusted these allies, had stood side by side, with their commanders in peace. The betrayal cut sharper than any weapon. She moved swiftly to the command bridge where the human fleet's flagship, Resolute, hovered near the misty gas clouds of Orison Vale. The nebula's swirling colors masked the sudden approach of sleek enemy warships, their shapes alien and menacing. Captain Chen Markov's voice crackled through the comm, tense but controlled. "Talia, this isn't a drill. We're under fire from Varn and Zilari ships. They're hitting us with pulse cannons, shields holding but barely. Recommend immediate withdrawal." "No," Talia replied, determination hardening her voice. "We need to send a message. Hold position until I'm there." Seconds later, Resolute shuddered under the assault, energy weapons punching through its outer hull. The bridge's lights flickered. Outside, smaller human vessels began retreating, but Talia refused to abandon the fleet. Her fingers flew over the control panel as she initiated a distress beacon to the Seraphim. "Galactic Concord Command, this is Humanity Fleet Command. We are under hostile attack by conquered forces. Identify yourself, or cease fire." Static filled the channel. Then a cold voice responded, "Humanity is a threat. Stand down or be destroyed." Talia's jaw clenched. The words echoed her deepest fears. The alliance was a lie. The Galactic Concord sought to crush humanity before it could outgrow its chains. With a grim look, she ordered the fleet into evasive maneuvers. Resolute and the remaining ships wove through the nebula, desperate to escape a massacre. Back aboard the Seraphim, the gala's festive mood evaporated. Conquered leaders gathered in emergency session. Sael Karath's voice boomed. "The humans will learn their place. We cannot allow them to control the future." Talia's figure appeared on a secure hologram. "This is Ambassador Voss. You have chosen betrayal. Know this. We will survive. Humanity will not be so easily broken." Her image flickered as the message ended. In the quiet aftermath, only one certainty remained. The galaxy's age of uneasy peace had ended. A new war, born of betrayal and fire, was about to ignite. The swirling gases of Orison Vale masked the human fleet like a shroud, but the nebula's beauty was a deadly illusion. Hidden within the vibrant tendrils of cosmic dust, sleek warships of the Varn Dominion and Zalari hierarchy waited in silence. Predators stalking prey. Captain Chen Markov's flagship, Resolute, cut through the haze, its sensors scanning for threats. The Joint Concord mission had been intended as a symbol of unity, an unprecedented collaboration between species. But that hope shattered with the first pulse of enemy fire. "Enemy contacts closing fast," Markov reported, voice taut, with tension. "Range 2,000 kilometers and closing." The bridge of Resolute became a frenzy of flashing lights and alarm bells. Human officers shouted commands, and alien crew members from allied factions frantically operated their stations. Disbelief etched on their faces. "Shields at 70%, the tactical officer reported. "Pulse cannons charging." Talia Voss, aboard the flagship as diplomatic envoy and liaison, gripped the armrest of her chair. "Orders, Captain?" Markov's gaze was grim. "Defensive formation Delta. Prepare for combat. But this isn't just a battle, it's a slaughter." Without warning, the first volley ripped through the nebula. Explosions blossomed around the fleet as Varn cruisers and Zalari destroyers unleashed devastating energy beams. The human vessels struggled to hold their formations, shields faltering under the assault. "Deploy countermeasures," the weapons officer yelled. "Evasive maneuvers recommended." Talia's comm pad buzzed urgently. She activated it, her voice steady but laced with disbelief. "Concord Command, identify yourselves. This is the human fleet under attack by Concord forces. Stand down immediately." The reply came cold and mechanical. "Humanity is rogue. Target neutralized." The words struck her like a physical blow. This was no accident, no misunderstanding. It was deliberate betrayal. Elsewhere in the fleet, the attack was chaos. Fighter pilots screamed in their cockpits, weaving through the fiery nebula as escorts and frigates exploded in flames. The human AI system struggled to compensate for coordinated strikes exploiting weaknesses only insiders could know. Lieutenant Aron Solari, a young pilot with more courage than experience, dodged a plasma torpedo that scorched the side of his fighter. "Evasive left. They know our protocols," he shouted to his squadron. His wingmates fell one by one. The enemy ships were ruthless, precise, executing tactics that cut human formations apart like a surgeon's scalpel. On the Resolute's bridge, the lights flickered as the flagship took a direct hit. Markov slammed his fist on the console. "We need to pull out. We're sitting ducks here." "No," Talia said, voice fierce. "We fight, not just for survival but for truth. If we fall without resistance, the galaxy will believe the lies they spread." Markov nodded, respect flickering in his eyes despite the danger. Suddenly, the ship's sensors picked up an unknown signal, a burst of encrypted data coming from deep inside the nebula. The AI analyzed it rapidly. "Ambassador, this is a transmission from the fleet's secondary command. They have discovered Concord sabotage teams aboard some vessels. This attack was premeditated." Talia's face hardened. Concord allies sabotaging their own fleet were being framed. She initiated a secure channel. "Fleet Command, prioritize saving civilian ships and evacuate the wounded. Defensive, strikes only. We must survive to tell the truth." The fleet, battered and fragmented, began a slow retreat under cover of nebular interference. But as they pulled back, Resolute detected a new threat: cloaked Varn stealth frigates moving in. "For the kill. Prepare boarding defenses," Markov barked. "If they get close, we lose everything." On the bridge, Talia's comm device crackled again. A voice, distorted and urgent, came through. "Ambassador Voss, this is Agent Kale from Earth Intelligence. The Conquered has activated a kill switch on your colonies. We must act fast. Evacuate your people before they're wiped out. Her breath caught. The betrayal wasn't just political, it was genocide. As the fleet limped away from Orison Vale, the nebula's swirling colors glowed like an ominous warning. Talia stared out the viewport, her mind racing. They betrayed us. They tried to kill us, but humanity won't die without a fight. Her fingers tightened on the console. She tapped a command to send a direct encrypted warning to Earth. Evacuate immediately. The Galactic Conquered has declared war. Trust no one. The stars outside shimmered, indifferent to the human fleet's desperate flight. But deep within the nebula's dark heart, a new storm was brewing. A storm that would change the fate of humanity and the galaxy forever. The silence on Earth was deafening. For the first time in recorded history, humanity's signals, broadcast across every frequency and wavelength, went unanswered by the Galactic Conquered. The usual hum of diplomatic chatter and scientific exchange had evaporated overnight, replaced by a chilling void. In the command center beneath the sprawling towers of New Geneva, Ambassador Talia Voss stood before a vast hollow display of the galaxy. Red dots blinked out. Human colonies. One by one, they disappeared. Status report, Talia demanded, voice steady but eyes burning with urgency. Lieutenant Aaron Solari, now reassigned to communications, tapped furiously on his console. Colonies lost contact in less than 12 hours. The Concord has imposed a complete communications blackout on our systems. They're isolating us. Admiral Chen Markov stood nearby, jaw clenched. The propaganda campaign is already underway. Their broadcasts paint humanity as warmongers, genocidal maniacs. It's all a lie, but the damage is done. Most conquered worlds won't listen. Talia turned away from the display, her mind racing. The betrayal was not just military, it was systemic. The Galactic Concord had rewritten history to vilify humanity, turning allies into enemies overnight. Meanwhile, on the distant outskirts of the galaxy, human survivors fled in battered starships. The Resolute and the remnants of the fleet drifted through uncharted space, hunted by Concord strike teams and merciless bounty hunters. Commander Solari, status? Talia's voice came through the comlink, strained but unwavering. We're down to a third of our original fleet. Supplies are low. The Concord is cutting off every escape route. We can't hold much longer, Solari admitted. Talia's fingers tightened around the console. We need to get back to Earth. They have to know what happened. But Earth itself was no sanctuary anymore. The orbital defenses that once shielded the planet were silent. Satellite relays had been seized by conquered forces disguised as peacekeepers. In a hidden chamber beneath the capital, the Galactic Conquered Council convened. Varn High Commander Sael Karath addressed the assembly. Humanity has become a cancer upon the galaxy, he declared, voice dripping with venom. Their ambition threatens our existence. We must extinguish their influence entirely. A holographic image flickered to life. The very colonies humanity had painstakingly built. One by one, the worlds were marked for eradication or occupation. The Concord's plan was clear, not just to isolate humanity, but to erase it. Back on Earth, Talia faced the grim reality. Admiral Markov, she said quietly, we need a new strategy. Our old alliances are gone. The Concord wants us dead or enslaved. We must prepare for war. Markov nodded. We have contingency plans. Protocol Obsidian. Classified for decades. It's time to activate it. Talia's eyes widened. The Black Contingency? The one they told us was a myth? Not a myth, Markov said grimly. A failsafe for total betrayal. When the Concord turns on us, we become a ghost fleet. Cloaked, armed with weapons they've never seen. As the days passed, Earth transformed. Satellite arrays vanished, behind electromagnetic cloaks. Factories churned out advanced warships and AI-driven drones. Civilians were evacuated from vulnerable colonies, and secret bunkers filled with scientists, soldiers, and families. Talia addressed the world, her voice broadcasted on every channel still free of conquered interference. Today the galaxy has declared us enemies, but we will not go quietly into the void. Humanity will fight with every ounce of courage and ingenuity we possess. This is our final warning. Evacuate now if you value your lives, because humanity will not be broken. We will rise from the ashes and remind the stars why they should fear us. Her words echoed across solar systems, fiery, defiant, and unmistakably human. In the shadows, the Concord scrambled. Their smear campaign faltered as underground networks began sharing the truth of the betrayal. Rogue factions questioned their leaders' decisions. Fear and paranoia rippled through their ranks. But for humanity, the die was cast. The stars themselves seemed to watch, waiting. Earth's skies darkened not from clouds, but from the sudden disappearance of countless satellites. One by one, the delicate web of communication and surveillance vanished behind an invisible shroud. At the heart of the Defense Command, Admiral Chen Markov stood before a glowing console, the weight of command pressing heavy on his shoulders. "Activate Protocol Obsidian," he ordered. Around him, officers exchanged uneasy glances. This was the protocol whispered about in classified corridors, a contingency plan devised during humanity's rise, a last resort if the Galactic Concord ever turned against Earth. It was not just a military maneuver. It was humanity's declaration of independence through overwhelming force. Markov keyed in the activation codes. The room hummed as deep space AI networks stirred from hibernation. Ancient warships long hidden beneath ocean depths and asteroid belts roared to life. Cloaking fields engaged, making Earth's defenses vanish from hostile sensors. Above Earth, the orbital defense platforms flared with renewed purpose. Silent for decades, these colossal weapon systems, Project Loki's deadly satellites and kinetic batteries, now awakened, their targeting arrays sweeping across Concord-controlled space. "We have the advantage of surprise," Markov announced. "The enemy thinks they have us cornered. They are wrong." On the command bridge of Resolute, Talia Voss watched the holographic representation of the galaxy. Systems once lost flickered alive. Human black sites and hidden colonies waking from decades of secrecy, their fleets ready to strike. "Tell the fleet," Talia commanded, "that we're no longer running. We're reclaiming." Deep beneath the surface, scientists and engineers scrambled to finalize secret weapons. The Concord had underestimated humanity's will and resourcefulness. Nanobot swarms designed to dismantle enemy ships, AI war strategists, capable of predicting entire fleets' movements, and quantum disruptors, technology stolen and perfected, were now humanity's shield and sword. Dr. Emira Zhao, chief architect of Project Loki, stood at a control console, sweat glistening on her brow. "The Concord won't know what hit them," she said grimly. "They built their strategies on the assumption that humanity was still confined, vulnerable." Her words echoed the grim truth. Humans had been preparing for betrayal for a long time. In the outer sectors, the first signs of Protocol Obsidian's fury appeared. Concord fleets sent to blockade Earth were suddenly sliced apart in seconds. Invisible drones slipped past patrols, sabotaging fuel lines and communications with surgical precision. On board a Varn cruiser, Commander Zelra screamed orders as alarms blared. "Impossible. How are they attacking us from nowhere?" The fleet sensors showed no enemy ships, only the eerie flickering signatures of AI-controlled devices that moved too fast and vanished like ghosts. Back on Earth, Talia addressed the planet's population via encrypted broadcasts. "Protocol Obsidian is our shield and our message. The galaxy must understand. Betrayal will not go unanswered. We will protect our own. We will fight, and we will survive." The message spread rapidly, sparking a wave of hope among beleaguered human colonies. Resistance cells formed in Concord-controlled territories inspired by Earth's newfound strength. But the Council of the Galactic Concord was not easily broken. In a darkened chamber, Varn High Commander Sael Karath slammed his fist against a table. "They play with shadows and machines. We must bring them into the light. Force a decisive battle." The Zalari strategist Qthil nodded. "The longer this drags on, the more our allies question us. We must end this before humanity's vengeance grows. As Earth's defenses went live, an uneasy realization spread through the galaxy. Humanity had become a force not to be underestimated. Protocol Obsidian was not just defense. It was a declaration that the hunted had become the hunter. Talia stood beside Markov on the Resolute's bridge, watching a holographic starfield as the first human counterattacks began. Peace was their choice, she said quietly. Betrayal made war ours. Markov smiled grimly. Then let's give them a war they'll never forget. The galaxy was shifting on its axis, and humanity was ready to tilt the balance. The cold void of space erupted in streaks of blue and red as Project Loki's orbital defense system activated its first wave of strikes. From hidden orbital platforms, once believed to be relics of a forgotten war, humanity's weapons came alive. With deadly precision, massive energy beams sliced through enemy cruisers, vaporizing entire squadrons in seconds. AI drones darted like silver hornets, disabling conquered warships' engines and weapon systems with near-perfect accuracy. Captain Chen Markov stood on the bridge of Resolute, watching the carnage unfold through tactical holograms. Beside him, Ambassador Talia Voss's face was a mixture of awe and steely determination. Loki is performing beyond expectations, Markov said. Our enemies didn't believe these systems still existed. We've caught them off guard. Talia nodded grimly. This is more than just defense. It's our resurgence. Deep in the shadows of conquered space, human covert operatives executed, daring raids against enemy supply lines and communication hubs. Among them was Lieutenant Aaron Solari, who had survived the Orison Vale ambush and was now leading a special operations team. Intel indicates a conquered weapons cache on the mining Colony Kessler 9, Solari briefed his squad. If we disrupt their supply, we slow their advance. Under the cover of an asteroid belt, Solari's team slipped through enemy patrols with surgical precision. Using stealth tech salvaged from Concorde designs, they infiltrated the heavily guarded depot. Inside, they planted explosives on fuel reserves and weapons storage. As alarms blared, the team fought their way back to extraction pods, leaving chaos in their wake. The resulting explosions lit up the darkness like distant supernovae, small victories that rekindled hope among scattered human forces. Meanwhile, back on Resolute, Talia and Markov received disturbing news. The Concord had launched a counteroffensive, deploying a new class of warship. Stealthy, heavily armed, and powered by unknown technology. These vessels appeared to neutralize Loki's drones and disrupt our sensor arrays, the tactical officer reported. We're losing ships faster than we can replace them. Markov slammed his fist against the console. They've adapted. We need a new plan. Talia's eyes narrowed. Then we give them a reason to fear us again. In the secretive depths of Earth's orbital command, Dr. Amira Zhao worked feverishly on upgrades to Project Loki. Her team developed adaptive AI that could predict enemy tactics in real time and deploy countermeasures faster than any human could react. The new algorithms will turn the tide, she assured Markov during a briefing. Loki will become a predator, not just a shield. With the upgrades installed, human fleets began to push deeper into conquered space, striking at key targets and rescuing imprisoned colonists caught in the political crossfire. One such rescue mission was led by Talia herself. Boarding the prison moon of Vilcor, where Concord forces held captured humans and dissident aliens, she coordinated a precision strike with elite soldiers. The assault was swift and brutal. Explosions rocked the moon's surface as the prison's defenses crumbled. Human and alien prisoners surged forward, fighting alongside their liberators. As the dust settled, Talia addressed the survivors. We will not abandon our own. This is just the beginning. Back on the Resolute, the tide of battle shifted. The conquered fleets, battered and uncertain, began retreating from contested systems. But their resolve hardened. The war was far from over. In a holographic council room, Varn Commander Sail Karath's eyes burned with fury. Humanity's rise threatens our dominion, he snarled. We must find the source of Loki's power and destroy it. The Conquered's hunt for Earth and its hidden weapon systems intensified. setting the stage for an even more devastating clash. As the battle lines solidified, humanity's fate hung in the balance. But for the first time since the betrayal, hope burned bright. Talia stood on Resolute's observation deck, staring at the stars beyond. The galaxy was vast and full of danger, but humanity's spirit was fiercer. "We've risen from the ashes," she said softly, "and we will not be extinguished." The war was no longer fought solely with weapons and warships. It had seeped into the hearts and minds of those who believed in the fragile hope of peace, and those who thrived in the darkness of betrayal. Aboard the Resolute, tension simmered beneath the surface. Trust was a fragile currency when every message could be intercepted and every ally a potential enemy. After weeks of relentless combat, cracks began to show within the fleet's command structure. Captain Chen Markov sat alone in his quarters, staring at a flickering holoscreen. Reports had arrived of a conquered mole embedded somewhere on Resolute, leaking mission-critical information to the enemy. The thought was poison, twisting his gut with doubt. "Commander Solari," Markov called, over the secure channel. "I want a full internal security sweep. Find the traitor before it's too late." Meanwhile, in a darkened corridor, Lieutenant Aaron Solari moved swiftly, his mind racing. The covert operative knew the enemy's reach was long and deadly. The last ambush on Orison Vale had been orchestrated with inside knowledge. Someone was playing a deadly game from within. Solari's team began the search quietly, interrogating crew members, scanning for unauthorized communications, and tracing data leaks through the ship's systems. The tension was palpable. Suspicion, fractured friendships, and fear whispered in every shadow. In the depths of the ship's data core, a subtle anomaly caught Solari's attention. A hidden access point had been used to send encrypted messages outside Resolute's network. The signature was unfamiliar but disturbingly precise. He traced the transmissions to a low-ranking engineer, Mara de Vries, a soft-spoken woman who had earned a reputation for brilliance and loyalty. Confronting Mara was painful. Her eyes betrayed nothing but fear and desperation. "I'm trying to protect my family," she confessed in a quiet voice. "They've been taken hostage by the conquered. I had no choice." The revelation fractured the crew. Was Mara a traitor or a victim? Talia Voss met with Mara in the ship's medical bay, hoping to understand. "Your loyalty is tested by threats no one should endure," Talia said gently. "But betrayal costs lives. Help us save your family and our people." Mara nodded, tears brimming. "I'll help. I have access codes and secret routes Concord uses to move prisoners. If you can strike fast, you might free them." As Mara worked with intelligence teams, the Conquered's shadow deepened. In distant sectors, brutal purges of suspected human sympathizers ignited unrest among alien factions who had once believed in the Conquered's justice. The Varn and Zelari factions faced internal rebellions. Leaders who had supported the betrayal found themselves hunted by their own people. Back on Resolute, tensions escalated when a sabotage attempt nearly crippled the ship's engines. Investigators uncovered evidence pointing to a second mole, a cold and ruthless agent intent on destruction. Markov and Solari realized they were facing not one, but multiple threats from within and without. The enemy's shadow stretched far, and time was running out. In the command center, Talia addressed the crew. "We face enemies in the stars and within our ranks. But humanity's strength is our unity. We will root out betrayal and fight for every soul counted on this ship." Her words rallied the crew, but the sting of betrayal left scars. Meanwhile, on the Concord side, Commander Sael Karath tightened his grip on the war effort. Rumors of human resistance spreading like wildfire unsettled him. "We must crush their spirit," he vowed. "No mercy, no compromise." Yet beneath his ruthless exterior, cracks of doubt formed. The loyalty of his own people wavered as the war stretched on. As Resolute prepared for a critical strike against conquered supply lines, using Mara's intelligence and Project Loki's might, the ship's crew steeled themselves. The battle ahead was not just for survival, but for the soul of humanity. In the quiet moments before combat, Talia looked out at the stars once more. "The galaxy has turned its back on us," she whispered. But we will prove that even in the darkest shadows, humanity's light burns brightest. The barren moon of Vilcor hung cold and lifeless against the black void, its rocky surface scarred by centuries of mining and conflict. But today, it was the front line of humanity's desperate bid for survival. The Concord's occupation forces had fortified the moon's prison complex, a sprawling fortress where countless human and alien prisoners languished under brutal conditions. Retaking Vilcor was not just a military objective, it was a moral imperative. Aboard the Resolute, Captain Shen Markov reviewed battle plans with Ambassador Talia Voss and Lieutenant Aaron Solari. Talia's voice was steady but urgent. We hit the Concord where it hurts, liberate the prisoners, disrupt their supply chains, and send a message to the galaxy. Humanity fights for every soul. The assault began under the cover of darkness. Stealth fighters slipped through enemy radar, dropping commandos near the prison perimeter. Explosions shattered the silence as sabotage teams disabled power grids and communications. Lieutenant Solari led the vanguard, his squad moving with practiced precision. Every step was a gamble. Concord patrols were ruthless and well-armed. Stay sharp, Solari whispered over comms. We have prisoners depending on us. Inside the prison, desperation simmered. Among the captives was Mara DeVries' family, held in a brutal labor camp. Their hope rested on the promise of freedom, on the distant roar of liberation. Suddenly, alarms blared as Concord sentries detected the infiltration. The moon erupted into chaos. Laser fire streaked across craggy valleys and crumbling ruins. On the surface, Talia coordinated fleet support. Project Loki's orbital cannons pounded Concord fortifications with calculated fury, creating breaches for ground forces to exploit. Concentrate fire on the eastern battery, she ordered. We need to cut their reinforcements. The battle grew fiercer. Concord forces, desperate to maintain control, unleashed experimental weapons, plasma turrets that incinerated advancing soldiers, and automated drones that swarmed like locusts. Captain Markov led a countercharge, rallying scattered troops with fierce determination. We hold the line, for humanity. Amidst the firefight, Lieutenant Solari's team reached the labor camp. They fought through guards and broken defenses to reach Mara's family. Stay behind me, Solari instructed as they broke open the heavy doors. The prisoners stumbled out, gaunt and terrified but alive. We're getting you out, Mara said, tears streaming as she embraced her parents. But victory came at a cost. Concord reinforcements arrived faster than expected, surrounding the liberators. On the Resolute, Talia's face tightened as new tactical data flooded in. We're cut off, Markov reported. We need an extraction point, now. Talia made a quick decision. Deploy the Loki drones to create a diversion. Open a corridor for ground teams. The orbital platforms unleashed a dazzling display of firepower, drawing enemy attention away from the beleaguered soldiers. Plasma bursts lit the sky as conquered ships scrambled to respond. Solari's team fought desperately through the chaos, escorting prisoners to evacuation pods. Move! Move! He urged, pushing through enemy fire. As the last pod launched, an explosion rocked the ground. The eastern battery's destruction had triggered secondary detonations, shaking the moon to its core. The Resolute slipped out of orbit, carrying survivors and wounded alike. Cheers erupted across the ship. Vilcor was theirs, but the fight was far from over. In the aftermath, Talia addressed the crew and freed prisoners. This victory proves what we've always known. Humanity will never surrender. Our enemies may try to erase us, but we will rise stronger, fighting for freedom, for justice, and for every life. Her words ignited a flame of hope across the fleet, inspiring a renewed resolve. But as celebrations echoed, shadows lurked deeper still. Within the Concord's ranks, whispers of rebellion stirred, fueled by those who doubted the Council's ruthless campaign. The war was changing. The galaxy had changed forever. From the shattered silence of betrayal rose humanity's unyielding roar, a force forged in the fires of deception, desperation, and unwavering hope. Aboard the Resolute, Ambassador Talia Voss stood before her fleet, now swollen with reclaimed colonies and rebellious allies. The battle for humanity's survival was at its zenith, and every ship, every soldier, every voice mattered. We fight not just for our homes, but for the future of all free beings, Talia declared, her voice echoing across the command bridge. Today we show the galaxy that humanity will not be erased. The final battle loomed near the galactic crossroads, a massive space station, Concord's central command hub, heavily fortified and bristling with weapons. Its capture meant breaking the Concord's grip on the galaxy and reclaiming lost worlds. Admiral Chen Markov coordinated the assault, eyes sharp on the tactical readouts. Loki's systems are fully operational. Once we breach the defenses, the station will be ours. Lieutenant Aaron Solari prepared his elite strike team for boarding operations. The mission was dangerous. Concord forces were desperate and well prepared. Stay focused, Solari said to his team. This is the moment we've trained for. As the fleet converged, the station erupted in a maelstrom of light and fire. Energy blasts tore through void as Concord warships scrambled to defend their stronghold. Project Loki unleashed its devastating might. Invisible drones swarmed, disabling turrets and communication arrays. Orbital cannons blasted holes in the station's outer hull. Inside the station, chaos reigned. Solari's team infiltrated the command center, fighting through corridors flooded with enemy soldiers. Every step forward was a brutal struggle. Meanwhile, in the main bridge, Talia confronted High Commander Sel Karath face to face. The man who had orchestrated humanity's betrayal stood defiant, eyes burning with hatred. You failed to break us, Talia said coldly. Sael sneered. You are but a spark. We are the galaxy's order. Order built on lies dies in flames, she replied. The battle raged both outside and within. Explosions rocked the station as Solari's team planted charges to cripple vital systems. With seconds ticking away, Concord forces launched a final desperate counterattack. Markov commanded, the fleet with calm ferocity. All units concentrate fire on the station's core. Prepare for evacuation orders. As the charges detonated, the station shuddered. Firestorms engulfed corridors. Talia and Solari fought their way to the escape pods, racing against collapse. Outside, Resolute and the fleet pulled back, battered but victorious. The Concord command hub was no more. In the aftermath, the galaxy began to shift. Systems once under Concord control declared independence. Alien factions who had suffered under the Council's tyranny joined humanity's cause. Talia addressed, the fleet one final time. We've been betrayed, hunted, and nearly destroyed. But we survived. Together we will build a future where freedom is more than a word. It's our reality. Back on Earth, rebuilding began. Protocol Obsidian had safeguarded humanity's survival, but peace would demand vigilance, diplomacy, and unity. Markov and Solari stood with Talia, gazing up at the stars. We fought hard, Markov said quietly. Talia smiled, hope shining in her eyes. And we'll keep fighting, for every star, every life. The galaxy was vast, its future unwritten, but humanity had sent its final warning, and the universe listened.